It starts with a rustle in the trash bags, then the scurrying of claws on concrete. Suddenly, the street is alive. For decades, New York has been the capital of the rat empire, but recent footage shows a shift in the tide. We see teams pumping gas into the earth, sealing off escape routes, and digging out the nests. It looks like a total purge, but here is the catch. The silence that followed the removal didn't last. The footage reveals that we didn't just disturb a nest, we woke up something much smarter and harder to stop: the first wave of attack. The footage is grainy, shaky, and absolutely chaotic. It shows a team of workers in high-visibility vests surrounding a patch of dirt in a Brooklyn park. They are not planting flowers. They are feeding a thick, black hose into a hole in the ground. A machine roars to life, pumping carbon monoxide deep into the earth. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, tiny wisps of smoke start rising from cracks in the sidewalk 10 feet away. That is the network. That is the enemy's fortress. And suddenly, the ground seems to ripple. This is what the war on rats actually looks like. For years, the internet has been buzzing with wild theories about New York releasing millions of genetically modified predators or mutant bugs to hunt down the rodent population. The titles are catchy, screaming about bioweapons and engineered predators. But the reality shown in the footage is more industrial, more brutal, and in many ways, more effective. The predators aren't lab-grown monsters. They are human beings, armed with a mandate from the highest office in the city to show no mercy. It all started when the city appointed its first ever rat czar, Kathleen Karate, in 2023. This wasn't a joke. It was a desperate admission that the rats were winning. The footage that surfaced in the months following her appointment shows the sheer scale of the offensive. We see the Burrow RX machines, devices that pump carbon monoxide into rat burrows, being deployed across the 5 boroughs. The gas puts the rodents to sleep permanently before they even know what hit them. It is silent, it is efficient, and it leaves no trace. But get this, the cameras also captured what happens when the gas stops pumping. You would expect to see an empty, quiet street. Instead, in many videos, you see the survivors, the ones that found the air pockets, the ones that scrambled out of emergency exits that the humans didn't even know existed. The footage reveals mounds of dirt pushed up overnight as the colony attempts to repair the damage. It shows that even with military-grade efficiency, the enemy is resilient. Everyone is obsessed with the idea of a quick fix, a silver bullet that solves the infestation overnight. But the footage from the front lines reveals a messy, drawn-out trench warfare. We see incredible scenes of rat walks, where citizens take their terrier dogs out at night to hunt. The dogs are efficient predators, shaking the rats to neutralize them in seconds. It is primal and brutal. But for every rat the dogs catch, the camera pans over to reveal shadows darting into the sewers. The aftermath that nobody expected wasn't a mutant uprising. It was the sheer speed of the bounce back. The videos show areas that were cleared out, gassed, and sealed, only to be reinfested within weeks. The predators did their job, but the footage exposes a terrifying truth about the enemy. They are not just living in the city. They are a part of its biology. And when you cut out a piece of an organism, the body rushes to heal the wound. The gas and the dogs were just the opening shots, but the rats had a secret weapon ready. The biology of survival. To understand why the aftermath was so shocking, you have to understand what the city is actually up against. Basically, New York is fighting a civilization that is older than the subway system. Estimates put the rat population at roughly 3 million. That is 1 rat for every 3 humans. They are everywhere, but usually they stay out of sight. What the recent crackdown did was force them into the light, and the cameras were rolling. The Norway rat, the species that owns New York, is an evolutionary marvel. They can tread water for 3 days straight. They can survive a fall from 5 stories high without a scratch. And get this, they can squeeze their entire body through a hole the size of a quarter. If their skull fits, the rest of them fits. This is why the footage of the aftermath often shows exterminators scratching their heads, looking at a sealed wall that somehow let an entire colony through. The videos circulating online often focus on the gross factor, the scurrying bodies, the trash bags moving on their own. But what many overlooked is the intelligence on display. In one clip, you can see a rat testing a trap. It does not just blindly run in for the bait. It touches it, sniffs it, and backs away. They are neophobic, which means they are afraid of new things. When the city introduced thousands of new, shiny bait stations, the rats simply ignored them for weeks. This biological resistance is what led to the rat hunter rumors. People couldn't believe that normal rats could survive the onslaught of toxins and traps the city was using, so the internet invented a story about super rats. But the reality is scarier. They aren't mutants. They are just incredibly good at not perishing. They have evolved genetic resistance to common chemicals like warfarin. You feed them bait, and they just treat it like a spicy snack. The footage from the aftermath of Hurricane Ida gave us a glimpse of this resilience. The subways flooded, turning tunnels into underwater rivers. Everyone thought, well, at least the rats drowned. Wrong. Videos emerged of rats forming rafts with their bodies or simply swimming to higher ground, shaking off the water and going right back to looking for pizza. So, here is the deal. City unleashed the new wave of extermination in 2023 and 2024. They were attacking an enemy that had already survived floods, toxins, and centuries of human hatred. The aftermath footage that shocked people wasn't showing fallen rats. It was showing how quickly the live ones adapted to the new threats. The videos reveal a shift in the ecosystem. With the dumb rats getting caught by traps and dogs, the ones left behind were the smartest, the fastest, and the most cautious. We were inadvertently selectively breeding a better opponent. The footage shows rats moving their nests higher up into the engines of parked cars, causing thousands of dollars in damage to avoid the gas treatments on the ground. It shows them changing their feeding times to avoid the dog patrols. They learned our schedules and tactics, but their new hideouts put them closer to us than ever. Escaping the fumes. Let's talk about the actual predators that caused all this commotion. The viral videos screaming about millions of released predators were exaggerating, but they weren't entirely wrong about the scale of the operation. The city didn't release bugs. They released gas. A lot of it. The footage of the Burrow RX machines is hypnotic. The machine turns liquid carbon monoxide into a smoke that is heavy. It sinks. It flows like water down into the complex tunnel networks. The idea is humane neutralization. The rats just go to sleep and never wake up. It sounds clean, but the aftermath videos tell a grittier story. We see workers digging up the burrows afterward to ensure the colony is gone. What they find is a complex city beneath the dirt. There are nurseries, food storage rooms, and escape tunnels. The gas doesn't always reach everywhere, and that is putting it lightly. In some footage, you can see smoke billowing out of a crack in a basement foundation 30 feet away from the injection site. This reveals the terrifying connectivity of the city. The rats have connected the parks to the basements, the sewers to the subways. The gas showed us the map of their kingdom, and it is massive. Then there is the dry ice method. You see clips of workers shoveling dry ice, frozen carbon dioxide, into rat holes. As it melts, it suffocates the inhabitants. It is effective, but it is labor-intensive. And here is the crazy part. The rats learn to push the dry ice back out. There are clips of fresh dry ice pellets kicked out of the burrow entrance mere hours after the exterminators left. They are fighting back with engineering. The most visceral footage comes from the dog hunts. Groups like the Riders Alley Trencher Fed Society have become local celebrities. They go out at night with their terriers. The videos are fast, dark, and intense. The dogs are not cruel, they are efficient. One shake and it is over. These videos get millions of views because they tap into a primal human desire to see the pest removed. But the aftermath of these hunts is what is interesting. The next night, the street is empty, not because the rats are all gone, but because they have relocated. They have moved. The hunting pressure pushes the colonies into new territories. This is the unexpected consequence. By attacking them in the parks and alleys, we push them into residential backyards and restaurant basements. The footage from homeowners showing rats in places they had never been before is the direct result of this pressure. The predators were effective at eliminating individuals, but they failed to end the colony. The social structure of rats is complex. If the alpha male is taken out, a subordinate takes his place within hours. If a mother is eliminated, other females will sometimes nurse the young. The footage of the aftermath is a testament to their social bond. We are fighting a collective, not just individuals. We pushed them out of the shadows, but that only forced them to invade our homes directly. Nature strikes back. So what happens when you disrupt a population of 3 million disease-carrying rodents? Chaos. The aftermath that nobody expected was the displacement effect. Residents in neighborhoods that used to be relatively rat-free started posting videos of rats running across their porches in broad daylight. It turns out, when you gas a burrow in a park, the survivors don't just fade away of sadness. They pack up and move to the nearest safe haven, your house. This migration is what sparked the rat hunter conspiracy theories. People saw rats acting strangely, running in the open, appearing in new places. They thought something must be wrong with them. But it wasn't a mutation. It was desperation. The footage of rats climbing brick walls to get into second-story windows is nightmare fuel, but it is just a survival tactic. They are seeking high ground away from the gas and the dogs, and it gets worse. The rats carry leptospirosis, a bacterial disease that can cause kidney and liver failure in humans and dogs. As the rats were forced out of their sewers and burrows, they brought the disease with them. There was a spike in reports of dogs getting sick after sniffing puddles where rats had urinated. The predators were meant to solve a health crisis, but the immediate aftermath was a potential spread of contamination. The city realized that eliminating wasn't enough. They needed to starve them out. This led to the trash revolution. You have probably seen the new containerized bins popping up all over NYC. No more black bags on the sidewalk. It seems like a boring solution, but the footage of rats trying to chew through the new hard plastic bins is actually kind of satisfying. They scratch, they bite, but they can't get in. However, this created another unexpected twist. A hungry rat is an aggressive rat. With their easy food source cut off, the rats began turning on each other. There are videos, grim ones, of rats feeding on the weak in their own colonies. The aftermath of the starvation policy was a brutal civil war underground. It also made them bolder in search of food. They started raiding outdoor dining structures and tearing into car wiring to find soy-based insulation to eat. The psychological toll on New Yorkers is real. The constant sight of rat hunters at work, the gas, the traps, the remains, created a sense of living in a war zone. The viral videos played into this anxiety. Every time someone saw a fallen rat on the subway platform, they pulled out their phone. The aftermath wasn't just biological, it was cultural. The rat became the main character of New York City, overshadowing the landmarks. But here is the catch. The trash containerization is actually working. In the pilot zones, rat sightings dropped by huge percentages. The predators were just the shock troops. The real weapon was the plastic bin. The footage of empty streets in Harlem where trash used to pile up is the only aftermath footage that offers any real hope. But the rats are still there, waiting for someone to leave a lid open. They are turning on each other for food, but a starving army is the most dangerous kind. Losing the war. We have seen the gas, the dogs, the panic, and the migration. We watched the viral clips of alleyways turned into battlegrounds and sanitation workers suited up like soldiers. But now that the smoke has cleared and the hashtags have stopped trending, we are left with the uncomfortable question, what is the final verdict? Did the so-called rat predators actually save New York City? The answer is complicated, frustrating, and far less cinematic than the internet wants you to believe. The population hasn't been wiped out. It hasn't even been halved. It has simply stabilized. The millions of released predators, the squads of terriers, and the specialized task forces were largely a myth amplified by social media echo chambers. But the millions of rats, they are a cold, hard reality. The city has moved from a state of hysterical warfare to a begrudging ceasefire. The most surprising aftermath isn't a mountain of rodent remains. It's the silence. The rats have simply become part of the new normal. The city has quietly accepted that total eradication is a fantasy. You cannot remove 3 million of anything without destroying the ecosystem they live in. If you carpet bomb the sewers, you destroy the drainage. If you saturate every corner with chemicals, you harm the pets and the water table. The focus has shifted from eliminate them all to manage the chaos. The footage we see today is less exciting. It shows the rat czar walking through damp alleys, pointing out structural flaws in concrete or unsealed trash compactors. It's bureaucracy, not battle. It's boring, but it is the only thing that actually works. The war has become a logistical operation of starving the enemy rather than hunting them. Crucially, we need to talk about the monsters under the bed. Debunking the myths is essential to understanding the real threat. There are no mutant rats roaming the subway tunnels. There are no genetically modified hunter bugs released by a shadowy government agency to track them down. The internet loves a conspiracy, but biology is rarely that flashy. The footage that people claimed showed mutations. Rats the size of cats, creatures with glowing eyes or hairless, scarred bodies, was mostly just rats suffering from severe mange or injuries from turf wars. When you see a rat that looks like a zombie stumbling in broad daylight and ignoring humans, you aren't looking at a new species. You are looking at a creature whose brain is hemorrhaging from second-generation anticoagulants. They were likely just baited and fading slowly. The reality is less sci-fi and more biology. We are dealing with an apex survivor, not a monster. These animals have an immune system that can process pathogens that would end a human in hours. They can fall 5 stories without injury. They can tread water for 3 days. We don't need to invent myths about them. The truth is scary enough. The true aftermath is that New York is superficially cleaner, but the rats are infinitely smarter. This is the unintended consequence of our war. By launching a massive, noisy chemical assault on the rat population, we applied what biologists call selective pressure. We caught the slow ones, we caught the dumb ones, we caught the ones bold enough to eat from a trap or slow enough to be caught by a terrier. What is left? The elite. The rats have learned to avoid the gas zones. They have learned to recognize the smell of the specific baits used by the city. They have adapted to the new trash bins, finding the weak points in the hinges that humans overlooked. The footage taken today compared to 2 years ago shows a leaner, meaner population. They are not swarming over trash bags in the open as much, but they are still patrolling the shadows, waiting for a single mistake. They move faster, they stay in the walls longer, they have shifted their feeding times to avoid the patrol schedules of the extermination teams. The scary part isn't what we see in the footage, it is what we don't see. The cameras can only capture the surface level, the alleys, the subway platforms, the parks. But the real colony lives deep underground, in the Victorian era brick sewers and the hollow spaces behind the subway tiles where the gas can't reach. Down there, in the dark, a new generation is being born. These are rats that have grown up in a state of siege. They have never seen a trash bag on a curb. They only know how to hunt for dropped food or breach secure containers. They know exactly how to avoid a snap trap because they watched their parents perish in one. We didn't end the war, we just trained the enemy for the next round. So, yeah, about that victory. It is not going to happen. The rats have been here since the settlers arrived, stowing away on Dutch ships, and they will probably be here long after the skyscrapers rust. The footage from the rat predators revealed one undeniable, uncomfortable truth. Nature finds a way. We can gas them, starve them, and hunt them with thermal scopes. But as long as humans produce waste, rats will produce colonies. It is a symbiotic relationship we can't divorce ourselves from. We provide the heat, the shelter, and the calories. They provide the cleanup crew we didn't ask for. The aftermath isn't the end of the story. It is just the beginning of a new, smarter infestation. The rats aren't gone. They are just waiting for us to get lazy again. And if history has taught us anything, it's that we always do. So, New York threw everything but the kitchen sink at these rodents, and they are still standing. It makes you wonder, if modern technology can't stop them, are we the ones actually living in their city? What would you do if these super survivors showed up in your backyard? Hit that like button if you hate rats and subscribe for more deep dives into the urban jungle.